Hello, good afternoon, and today, it's John Heaton. Today I'm going to review the new McCartney album, McCartney 3, which I picked up, well, it came out on Friday, as we know. I picked it up on vinyl yesterday, and picked it up on CD today. So I listened to it 5 times on Friday on MP3, Spotify. Once on vinyl yesterday, once on vinyl again. No, actually, I didn't listen to it on Saturday at all. Once on vinyl today, this morning, and once on CD this afternoon. This is the CD packaging, which is slightly different from the album because you get a nice little booklet here with some extra pictures, which is nice. Some of which are in the gatefold as well, or similar. And I love the gatefold picture of very reminiscent of the McCartney album 50 years ago, if we can believe that. So just before I get into talking about the album, I just want to say I discovered something the other day. I was reading Beatles Forever, the Nicholas Schaffner book, and he was mentioning about the Power to the People bit here on Shaved Fish. And for some reason I'd always thought that was just Declaration of Independence or freedom of rights or constitutional rights or something. But if you read the small print, it actually says, "We, the people of the United States, in order to further advance the causes of international artistry and human relations, do ordain one John Lennon with a most prized and coveted green card, which shall enable said Lennon to remain within the territorial boundaries of these here United States of America." So I must have read that before in the Schaffner book, but I didn't think I'd forgotten it, so it's very interesting. Anyway, that was a little side note. So back to McCartney 3. So I'm going to list a few pros and cons. On the pro side, the length is really decent, less than 45 minutes. I think Paul has had a tendency to do really long albums, particularly since well, I guess Driving Rain was the first one, which was really long. And as a result of that, it makes certain albums difficult to sit and listen to all the way through. So I think Egypt Station is a good example of that. Although one of the reasons I don't like to listen to that all the way through is because certain tracks are quite offensive to me, or I don't like them at all. Driving Rain is nearly an hour long, so 45 minutes much better length. And he's done it all himself. And with the exception of one track, Slide In, where he's got help from Rusty and Abe, I'm not sure why he did that, because it would have been nice to stay to the original formula of just him, even though Linda appears on McCartney 1 and McCartney 2, of course. I love the fact that Paul's still going. I love the bass. It's not particularly adventurous bass, but it's pretty decently recorded and well played. I think he drums well on it. There's no stinkers on this album like For You, so that's a plus. I think I'll go through the tracks in a bit, so I won't talk about individual tracks just yet. On the cons side, well, yeah, the vocals aren't as good as in his heyday, but then one shouldn't really expect them to be, and I didn't find them too bad at all, considering he's 78 years old. I thought they're pretty decent, with maybe a couple of exceptions. Maybe he doesn't sing the rockers quite so well, and even the acoustic, when he's trying to do the falsetto, one can hear the kind of falsetto of Mama's Little Girl from the early 70s, particularly on a track like The Kiss of Venus, and it would have been just sublime. As it is, it's pretty decent. But anyway, I'll cover the individual tracks in a bit. What else? Heard quite a few interviews come out. Good one with Chris Rock. Idris Elba, haven't heard yet. Howard Stern, haven't heard. Jimmy Fallon, watched that. That was quite amusing. As we know, an awful lot of hype surrounding this album, with numerous coloured vinyl editions. I've just got the black vinyl here. Well, actually, it's my son's copy because they only had one copy in the shop. I'll pick it up at some stage, maybe try and get a coloured vinyl if it comes to Hungary, but I'm not too fussed. But I really like the idea of the cover. Actually, I think it's his best cover, going back a long time, actually. It's better than... Well, Egypt Station was a decent cover, and New wasn't too good. Driving Rain's a terrible cover. Chaos is a little bit poor because Paul's in the background, you can't really see him. Memory Almost Full is a dreadful cover. So this is actually pretty artsy cover, and I like it, and I like the back cover. So, and you get the lyrics, which is nice, on the CD as well, and you get the label, which I seem to remember is quite reminiscent of the McCartney 2 label, at least in the UK, although my son's McCartney 2 copy, I noticed the other day, is on the Columbia label, which was interesting. So yeah, let's now go through the tracks. Long-Tailed Winter Bird is mainly an instrumental built around this really catchy guitar riff that he's got on the acoustic, and he's so happy with it, he makes this song go on for 5 minutes, and I think it slightly outstays its welcome, but not by too much. Maybe he could have trimmed it by a minute. But I love the way the drums, or some kind of drum sound comes in halfway through, and then the bass, the walking bass line is excellent, and it's very much in the style of McCartney 2, I thought, this particular track. Find My Way is the next one. There's a video for this where he's playing all the instruments, and it's a good video. It's reminded me of the video for Fine Line, actually. I guess it's a reasonably similar type song. I think I prefer this one. I love the way he's just going between the chords of F and C, and I love it, and no doubt he's done that on many songs before. Maybe Adrian Allen, you can tell me which songs go between F and C, but just trying to think off the top of my head, I can't. But I pretty much love this track. Maybe the middle bit with the falsetto is not the highlight, but the verse is excellent. Pretty Boys is definitely a grower. I thought it was okay on first listen, but I actually think it's quite a clever song. And the words are a little bit mysterious. I'm not sure if he's talking about boy bands or reaction to the Beatles in the early days, because they were all kind of sex symbols at the time, I suppose, in one respect. Or he could just be talking about anything, I'm not sure. It's not bad lyrics, but working for the Squire, I'm not sure what that means, just to rhyme with something or other. Preaching for the Choir is another one, which I think, not sure why those lyrics are there. So I'll just look up what it's actually. Yeah, Objects of Desire, Line of Bicycles for Hire, Working for the Squire. Reasonably clever lyrics, but a little bit forced rhymes here and there, but pretty minor criticism. I like the track, I like the tune, and he sings it well. Woman and Wives, slightly affected kind of American type vocal sound, but well played, good piano sound, good percussion. I like the percussion on this one. And I think it was on one of the interviews, he said it was his favourite track on the album. It's interesting words as well about, pass on some of your wisdom to the younger generation, and maybe they'll listen to some of it and pass it on, etc. I think good message. Lavatory Riddle is next, and obviously when one sees that title, one is filled with dread. But actually it's a jaunty little track, and it's actually pretty amusing. And we're not sure who Lavatory Riddle is about. He refused to say in an interview, but it was about someone who he'd encountered in his career who turned out to be a bit of a baddie, he said. Could be male or female, although the song is obviously called Lavatory Lil. I think I've got a feeling it might be one of his ex-managers who he fell out with, I'm not sure. I doubt somehow it's about Heather, because they've been divorced for a good 12 years or so, and I think it would just stir up the trouble to put out a track like this, and probably upset his daughter Beatrice as well. So I don't think it's about Heather personally, but who knows, he won't reveal. But it's quite a nice track. I think they could have changed the title and not called it Lavatory Lil. And people have been comparing it to Polythene Pam and Maxwell and stuff. It's not on that level at all, but it's a good piece of fun. And I think Polythene Pam and Maxwell actually are more than just pieces of good fun. I think Mean Mr. Mustard as well. I think they're just classic Beatles humour. And on a different level to this track. But anyway, it's okay. Sliding is the next on the vinyl, although the CD, we've got Sliding coming first. I guess that was to make sides 1 and 2 more equal length. It's a slightly claustrophobic production, and it's the only track where Paul's not doing solo. He's got Rusty and Abe helping him out. Quite like the vocal on bits of it. But it's, as I say, it's not one of those tracks I think I'm going to go back to too often. By the way, I took Andrew Dixon's advice on the last listen to play it loud, and it definitely made it more enjoyable. I mean, I think it does for any album. If I'd gone and played McCartney 2 loud, it would sound better than if you play it on a shitty transistor radio. So I guess an album shouldn't need to be played loud to be enjoyable, but it did make some of the instrumentation come out more, and I'm glad I took Andrew's advice there. But even loud, this track Sliding is not a favourite. And Deep Deep Feeling it goes on for 8 minutes. Some people have called it a Paul groove track, a bit like spinning on an axis. And yeah, they've got a point, and it's quite, interesting ground for Paul to cover, and lyrics nothing special, but I think the whole point of a song like this is the groove, and it's kind of captures your attention, but maybe not for 8 minutes. It reminds me of when he did a B-side on the McCartney 2 sessions. B-side of Temporary Secretary was a track called Secret Friend, and that had a nice groove, but I'm not sure if it justified it being 10 minutes long. And I seem to remember certain tracks on McCartney 2 were originally several minutes longer, and he shortened them, and I think that made it McCartney 2 a more accessible album, and also shorter album. It was, from what I remember, 40 minutes or so. And it didn't seem to be too experimental. He maybe pared that side of it down a little bit, because I think the instrumentals on side 2 were longer. But anyway, that's a sidetrack. Deep Deep Feeling is okay, but I don't love it. I don't like it too much. I don't mind it, though. It's grown on me a little bit. Seize the Day, Paul was describing in an interview as being quite Beatley. I don't think it's Beatley very much at all, and I don't think it's a very good track. It's okay. It's nothing special. Kiss of Venus, I was saying, this could have been can you imagine if Kiss of Venus had been on Venus and Mars? That would have been quite amusing. With the 70s voice, I think it would be considered a little gem of a song. Like Bluebird or one of those ballads from the time. But as it is here, he sings falsetto. He's 78 years old, and it doesn't sound fantastic, but it doesn't sound awful either. My friend Andrew Brooks said this was the only track he doesn't like, because he really can't stomach Paul trying to sing falsetto at this stage of his life. But I didn't find it offensive. I thought he'd sung it reasonably well. And the melody is one to die for. And, one should thank Paul that he can still turn out songs of this quality. Deep Down is another groove track with not very good lyrics about I want to go downtown, I want to explore this part of town tonight, I want to have a party every night. But maybe again the lyrics aren't the point of a song like this, it's more the groove. He sings it quite well, but it does go on an awful long time again, like Deep Deep Feeling, and it's very repetitive lyrically. Maybe lyrics aren't the point, as we've said, but I can't see myself listening to this over and over in years to come. I mean, I'm quite enjoying it now, and I do think this album flows pretty well. And as I say, it's not overly long. And I like the way that Winter opens the album with Long-Tailed Winter Bird and then closes it with Winter Bird's short reprise of that first track. And then When Winter Comes, which perhaps unsurprisingly is pretty much clearly the best track on the album. And unfortunately, the reason for that is it dates from 1992, and you can hear Paul's voice is a lot nicer, and God knows why they left this off the ground. It's got Paul and Linda's vegetarianism and love of animals all over it, and I can't understand why he wouldn't have released it at the time. Nice words about digging drains by the carrot patch, and the lambs and the chickens got to mend the fence because a couple of foxes have been nosing around. I think it's thoroughly charming. And when the winter comes and food is scarce, I just think it's beautiful. And but it is quite ironic that the best track on the album is 28 years old. Although, you know, that's not to say some of the other tracks aren't thoroughly decent, like the opener, Long-Tailed Winter Bird, Find My Way, and Pretty Boys and Woman and Wives. Those first four tracks, I think, are my favourites on the album, along with Kiss of Venus and this last track. So there's a lot to love about this album, and it's not thoroughly consistent, but there's no Fayous on here. There's nothing objectionable, and it's pretty interesting. And I've written here, it's thoroughly unpretentious, you know, in a bit the same way as the McCartney album was 50 years ago and McCartney 2 was 40 years ago. Yeah, the lyrics aren't fantastic. He's got lines like, it's still all right to be nice, which are a little bit grating. But if we remember, McCartney and McCartney 2 were both slagged off at the time, and they've both been revalued since. So maybe this album, although it's a bit the opposite with this album, because it received 4-star reviews for the main part. And have you noticed how every Latter-day Paul album since memory has got 4-star reviews? And Dylan albums the same, or if not 5 stars. There seems to be, the critics seem to be in reverence of aged rock stars, as if to say, we're glad you're still around, we love the fact you're still going, so we'll give your new album 4 stars. The same with Paul Simon. And it's interesting to remember back in the 70s, even albums which are now regarded as classics like Ram got slagged off, and the McCartney album, Wildlife 2, and these albums, and Back to the Egg, these albums have all been reevaluated, and most fans would put them, you know, towards the top of the list. And I think it's interesting that in the 70s it wasn't particularly trendy to like McCartney, and there was a lot of anti-Wings feeling, thinking they were too commercial, blah blah. And whereas latter-day albums like New and Egypt Station and this one effortlessly get 4 5-star reviews. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. I'm pretty happy with this album. I've listened to it 7 times. It's going to be, and it's good that it came out at Christmas, because it's got a winter theme, and it opens with Long-Tailed Winter Bird and closes with Winter Bird, When Winter Comes. So I like that. He's thought quite hard about sequencing the album and making it flow, and he's produced it well. He's playing most of the stuff. It's quite a tribute to the man that he's still able to do this and put out music of such quality, and I'm thoroughly grateful that we are in the position to listen to this new album from Paul McCartney, and one hopes, and one is fairly sure, that it won't be his last by a long shot. So thanks for watching. See you next time.